What's going on YouTube? Cardfight King here. I wanted to make a quick video just going over my ban list prediction for Friday's supposed Japanese restriction list, which is probably going to end up being reflected in the English meta anyways. And I have these 5 cards here, so just want to briefly go over, why I think these 5 cards are potentially going to end up on the restriction list. Obviously, I think Mikey Kudo is going to end up on the restriction list. We might not see it hit for us, probably kind of like when DeathXmon got hit for us, probably not till maybe about two weeks or so into the format, just to give people the experience of a full power cross heart deck. But the reason is because Mikey is what makes the cross heart deck what is widely believed to be one of the first tier 0 type of decks in Digimon TCG currently right now. If you guys follow the DTCG Twitter page, I think David Ping Ping as well as some of the Singaporean players, they're actually having tournaments, obviously unofficial tournaments, but they're having local tournaments and other types of tournaments where they're completely banning the cross heart deck from being played in the tournament just due to just its sheer power and I guess just overpoweredness in the format, where it pretty much has zero, it pretty much has a favorable matchup against everything in the format and almost nothing. It has no bad matchups at all, so it's it's just an extremely strong deck. Mikey gets to search a card, and not only that, not only does he get to add a cross heart to it, but he gets to put a cross heart under himself when you play him from hand. He's also a 3-cost tamer, so people say, oh yeah, you can play DORUgoramon and things like that, right? But you can play around that. Like, you can put out the cross heart has plenty of other tamers they can play out. They can bait you by putting out one Mikey, and then they can drop another Mikey after you drop the DORUgoramon. So you can bait people like that and then go into something else for what they want to do. When you're Digimon with cross wars requirements, you can spin the tamer and also place cards from under your tamers. So you get to take other cards from your tamers and put them under the Digivolution source as well. So you really get to pick and choose. And a lot of the cross heart Digimon, when they die, they go under a tamer. So then when you're able to do that, you can fill up their stack with a bunch of different inheritables and things like that. And it's just really it's quite unfair. And if you guys just watch a few gameplay videos of it, you guys can see how strong this deck is. It's just unreal. They're just hard playing cards. If their stuff gets punished for being played out, it's fine because of the save mechanic. It's just really strong. I think Mikey has to get hit in some capacity. Calling from the Darkness. So Calling from the Darkness, I think, is a card that is probably going to get hit. And the reason why I think Calling from the Darkness is going to get hit is because I think that it is a card that can get problematic for purple. And for the design of purple decks in general and whatnot. And the reason why I say that is because of the way that it's worded. And you guys know the thing where it's like, delete one of your Digimon, then return up to 2 purple Digimon cards when you trash your hand. You don't need to delete, for this ability, you don't need to delete a Digimon for the card, right? You don't need to delete Digimon in order to do the next effect, right? Now maybe, I don't think that they're going to errata the card saying that, maybe they could just update the rule where it's that, okay, you have to delete a card in order to return up to 2 purple Digimon hand. So kind of like how Calling of the Deathclaw is worded. But this card is just really strong in general. This card is really good for the Minerva loop. It's pretty much just really good in all purple decks. It can add cards like Death X to hand. You see how we use it in Beelstar, and pretty much any future purple deck. You're really going to be running anywhere between 1 to 3, 1 to 4 copies of this card. This card is an auto include in your deck, and just depending on how well your deck can recycle this card, how strong this card can be in your deck as far as what Digimon you're going to be adding back and how pressurizing that is for the game. You know, I can definitely see this card getting hit. Now there are decks that just play one of this card anyways, right? So some people might feel like, oh, I'm not losing much of anything, but I think it's more the fact that when Bandai or whoever is designing purple cards and decks, you're going to, this card can be a card that in the future, and you know, through their design process, that this card can be emphasized to the umpteenth degree to where it can be an overpowered card and is going and instead of like having to have an emergency ban for this card because it broke a purple deck, you take care of it now so that in the future when you design other purple cards, yeah, you have one copy of Calling from the Darkness and it's a really good card, but it's not a card where purple decks can just lean on and continually abuse this card without having to play the DORUgoramon and hard drop the DORUgoramon for 3 to recycle the card. And that's just how I feel. I think it's just an extremely powerful card. It's really good, just resource management. As you guys know, in like the DORUgoramon purple hybrid decks, you can easily recycle this card and whatnot. But again, for the future design of purple cards, and the ability to design other, you know, purple decks and archetypes and whatnot, I just think that this card has the potential to create an unhealthy relationship with the design team and the overall health of how purple can be seen in the game in a way. Next card is DeathXmon or DeathXmon, as they translate in English, which I think is kind of dumb. DeathXmon is an interesting card. I don't think he's that bad. I actually think he's a healthy card for the game, for the format. And the reason why I think he's a healthy card is that he's a 20 play cost. Yeah, you reduce the play cost by 3 for each of your opponent's Digimon and Tamers in play. And it's just your opponent's stuff, right? So they can play around it to a degree. When you Digivolve or on play, you de-Digivolve one, then you destroy all their level 4 lower Digimon, and then at the end of their turn, you delete all of your opponent's things with the lowest play cost. So they can play around it, like they can have an Omnimon, and they can just throw it like a Terriermon or something, and then bam, you blow up the Terriermon, but the Omnimon's still there. The reason why I say I feel like this card is just going to get hit because people are playing it so much in response to the Cross Heart deck. But I think that DeathXmon is healthy for the game just in the fact of that it's a check and balance card, right? When your opponent's playing Bloomlordmon, they're throwing out 5 bodies onto the board. Your opponent's playing Crossheart, they're throwing out 1,000 Tamers, you know. Playing Alphamon, they're throwing out a bunch of stuff. You know, it's kind of just like, why is it that I have to sit there and allow you to have all these Tamers on board, all these Digimon on board, and every turn that I'm that I'm not dead, you continue to gain benefits off of them with me not being able to have a response to it, right? And this card is a response to your opponent going Omega wide. You know, like you go Omega wide, okay, I can try and answer your board with DeathXmon, but now you have a chance, but then it's like, okay, you have a chance to respond to me, because it's not like I can attack with him once I summon him, right, from my hand. So then you have a chance to respond to me now and either get rid of my DeathXmon or whatever the case may be. But I want to have the opportunity to be able to respond to you flooding your board, rather than sit there, watch you flood your board, and then try to figure out what's in my card pool that can answer your board flood, rather than have a kind of like a floater like DeathXmon that can answer. Because I can honestly tell you, even in purple, sometimes, you know, with purple, it is hard for certain purple decks and even black decks to answer certain board floods, you know, if it's not like rookies and whatnot, or, you know, answer board floods without paying an expensive cost. And DeathXmon being a black and purple is definitely, for the colors at least, is a perfect answer to that. But for other colors as well, this is a card that, you know, punishes your opponent for, you know, spitting out and having a wide board, and thinking that they're going to sit there with this massive advantage that they're going to have for the entire game because you can't answer everything, you know, in a matter of a turn or two. You know what I mean? So that's why I think this card is a healthy card for the game, because it's an answer to where your opponent's not going to just sit there and just casually beat you with a super wide beneficial board turn by turn. But I think it's going to. But I have a feeling that he may end up getting restricted just because of its overall usage and ease of usage throughout the game, and its ability to float between different decks, because it is quite a generic card, just due to the fact that you can hard play it for the reduced cost. DORUgoramon. I think DORUgoramon may end up getting hit as well. DORUgoramon is what enables the Alphamon OTK. Basically, multiple copies of this in the stack. Really, just getting this off and then going to the Dex DORUgray is really where it's at. This card is. I think a lot of it has to do with its protections, because you prevent effects from deleting it or reducing the DP. So you prevent like all of purple, you prevent yellow from really being able to deal with it. Anything but blue, like blue is really the only color that can actually deal with a card like this. But then on top of that, they generally play about 2 copies of Breath of the Gods, so they can use this in combination with Breath of the Gods. You have a stack that you really can't remove off the field, and then unless you're playing Beelstar or some teched out blue deck and you're playing like Howling Crusher or some version of Blue Hybrid where you can get rid of sources, then I guess you can get rid of sources. But you're not really doing that because you're playing a lot of cards that really, I guess, in a sense, just don't matter. But a lot of times when your opponent raises and they go into DORUgoramon, they're going for the OTK, or they're going to put your security all the way down to 0, and then you may have a turn to where you can't really hurt them, to where you might not be able to finish them off, and but you also can't get rid of their card on the board. This card just really enables just a lot of pressure, and I think that if this card were to go to 1, it would change up a lot of the top end dynamic of the Alphamon deck, and it'll take away the ability for Alphamon really to be that OTK kind of deck. It'll still have the play because DORUgray's in the deck, and if you see it great. But I think what it'll do is it'll probably let you explore the card pool a lot more and not rely on this card being as a crush. But also it'll make it so that when you do raise your stack, raise your Alphamon and whatnot, you do go into a level 5, you don't have all these protections, so that it gives other decks the ability to be like, okay, well, you went into this and you did all of this, which is great, and you still probably hit me hard to a degree, but now I have the ability to come back, pay a decent amount of memory, remove your cards here, give you back, but now I give you back a chance to swing back, rebuild, do what you need to do. But it's not like you have an immovable stack to where you can rebuild again, whatnot. Yeah. And then Cool Boy, I mean, Cool Boy I think can go. I think it's good in other decks too. It's a really generic tamer, but like, I think it just works extremely well with the deck stuff. Like I think one of them has to go, but with the deck stuff, when you raise out, you can just gain so much memory and draw cards when you're climbing up the whole dex line with this card. With the Dex DORUgoramon, Dex DORUgray. He works a lot in other decks too, like the Metal Garurumon, X Antibody, Metal Guru, just the same level, but X Antibody cards. So I mean, I think Cool Boy, I think he's really busted for being a 2-cost tamer as well. So I can definitely see probably him going to maybe 2 or something like that. I think that would be probably where I could see him going to as well. But I don't really see X Antibody, again, in future sets where I guess the Japanese players are at in EX3 right now. I don't really see Cool Boy as a issue in a way. I think DORUgray is an issue. I think DeathXmon can be an issue depending on what's going on. I think Calling the Darkness is an issue from the forefront that it is a staple card in pretty much all competitive purple decks, and it can hurt the future design of purple just based upon how much they can abuse this card and what quality of cards they can add back to their hand for 1 cost and not needing to destroy a card first. And then obviously Mikey, who is the leader of the Cross Heart, and just really enables a deck that a lot of people are considering to be our first tier 0 deck if they don't super brick. Alright, but that's the video, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys later.